So I hope the last module was valuable on how to build targeted lists for LinkedIn outreach. Now we're actually going to discuss how to write good copy for LinkedIn outreach, right? We've got some bits in this module that's more for email, but that's going to be in a later module down the line as well. But yeah, this is going to be how to write good copy for LinkedIn to actually get responses from your prospects and book the most amount of calls possible. So I'm going to go over the basics, the fundamentals, how to structure your campaigns. Like I said, I've got a little bit for email here. We've got the fundamentals, creating value-driven messages, MPC strategies, and actually examples of that where we've seen success using this before, examples for different markets, more on the human approach, which we've seen to work extremely successfully, and we want to build conversations that your setter or your BDR or your VA or even yourself can then turn into calls, right? Building trust, timing intent, and we've got our final thoughts, right? That's going to be what we're going to cover in today's video. So let's get straight into it. So ultimately, when it comes to copywriting for campaigns, you want to basically create one campaign with 3 angles to test of the copy, right? So effectively, you want to back-to-back test 3 different angles. And when I say angles, I mean different type of scripts, okay? Every campaign should have 2 to 3 follow-ups. We think significantly more than that is not ideal because you're going to most likely get the response from the first couple of messages. It's just not worth following up hundreds of times when you can just focus on new leads. Obviously, depending on the size of your market, if your market is below like 500 people or 1,000 people, then of course follow-up will be more important. But I'm assuming most markets you're in have at least say 5,000 contacts in the whole market, in which case you should probably only have 2 to 3 follow-ups. It's also worth noting that you can actually follow up people for a longer time frame if they opt in to any of your marketing activities. And it can be like a follow-up over something like HubSpot or Beehive, a newsletter software. It's not technically a follow-up, but it's staying top of mind for them. You can also do the same with content on LinkedIn. If you're regularly posting, it will just basically keep you top of mind, okay? But for this example, we're going to do 2 to 3 follow-ups in each campaign. And like I said, with 3 variants for split testing purposes, okay? Checking against spam words. Once again, this is more important for the email side of things, but it's worth mentioning now just so you're aware of it. There's actually a tool that you can put your copy into. So let's say I just created this email and it will tell us exactly what the spam words are in this email. Okay, so this is more likely to get picked up by the spam filters and it doesn't look as good to the client. Okay, so you can see that, for example, this thing saying ASAP isn't good, right? If I remove that, the score will increase. And once again, if I remove like the guarantee word, then the score is going to increase. Okay, I'm getting rid of all of the words that don't look good here. Okay, let's just remove these, for example, right? And without any of these spam words, the overall score goes to great, and it means I'm much more likely to land in the inbox and to actually get a response from this. Obviously, you need to replace the words, not just remove them, but just to illustrate the example. So there'll be a link to that in this document that you can play around with, okay? So this will allow you to remove obvious spam keywords from the copy, so your deliverability performance will be enhanced and you'll get more replies from your outreach. Most of the time, people don't even know they have spam trigger words in their emails, but it's causing you to land in the spam folder and you're not gonna see any success that way, okay? So in terms of how to actually structure your campaigns, what you want to do is start with one main campaign framework, right? I'm going to go through the frameworks in a second, but you want to lay it out step by step. It's going to have different parts of the message. It's going to have an opening, a main value exchange, and then like a call to action, right? Getting someone to actually take action on your message. And then once again, we've got those 2 to 3 follow-ups. So the process of what this would actually look like, obviously it's different for every single market. But what you need to do is you need to research and brainstorm into the actual industry, right? I've put the client's industry because this is one of our internal SOPs, but you basically want to really do a deep dive into your industry, pain points, past campaign data, if you have any of that, to craft these compelling angles, right? And these compelling messages. Obviously, you're going to be the expert in your market. You know what the pain points of your customers are. And if you don't, I use ChatGPT and I just have a conversation with it. I just ask it, okay, I am, a recruiter that's helping companies in the biotech market. I want to understand what their biggest pain points are in 2025. And you can go and have a conversation with ChatGPT and understand the main pain points that these biotech companies, for example, are struggling to solve. You want to do that because, as we go into the framework in a second, you want to lead with pain, right? Pain is the number one thing that will actually get people to take action. They're not in their current, like desired situation. That's why people take action. That's why I go to the gym. That's why I do outreach to clients and stuff. I want to be fitter. I want to be healthier. I want to grow my business. All right. Pain gets people to take action. So the more you understand the pain points of your audience and your market, the more compelling your message will be, always. Okay. Now, obviously, from here, you can start to develop the angles. 3 angles is what I recommend. 3 angles is all it takes. And when I say angles, I just mean different type of scripts. Don't worry, I'll give you the framework so you can follow it. But it could be a problem-solving one. It could be, say, for example, they've got a job post. We can explain to them how they can help fill that role, right? Aspirational. So what are their biggest goals? What do they want to hit as a company? How can we help them achieve that, right? We just need to appeal to different triggers based off the pain points that we understand about this market. I would obviously cross-check using AI tools as well for suggestions. Maybe you're missing some stuff. Maybe it's not as relevant. Maybe it thinks you're talking about yourself too much, which, by the way, I think is the number one problem of most people doing outreach, is they just make it too centered about themselves, saying, I am so-and-so, this is what I do. But realistically, the prospect doesn't care. All they care about is getting their problem solved, okay? So that's what I would just have a bit of an emphasis on at the start. Make sure you really understand the pain of your market. This is what will actually get you to get results in that market and get responses. You need to understand their pain, okay? If it's a certain position they're really struggling to fill, then great, you can lean on that. You can maybe find candidates already and develop a candidate pool to use for an NPC campaign, or you can just lean into the fact that they're struggling to find that person, and you can say you can help them find them in X number of days, 7 days, 14 days, whatever it is, okay? But understanding the pain points is one of the most important things of this whole process, okay? I've mentioned already about the deliverability in terms of the spam checker, but it's words like free, guarantee, limited offer. You don't really want to be putting those in emails or LinkedIn messages, really. And then in emails case specifically, which we'll be going over in more detail in a different module, so I'm just going to quickly go over it now. Spin tax is really important. So what spin tax is it basically spins out different phrases to say the same thing. So if you have it in this one curly bracket with this line in the middle, for one email it will say hi, next one will say hey, next one will say hello, right? And then you're hiring, your job posting, right? It's going to swap these out so none of the emails look exactly the same, because it's getting to a point now where the email service providers like Google, Outlook are very sophisticated. And if you're using exactly the same email to send to everyone, they'll hook onto it and they'll know you're using automation. So if you use this thing called spin tax, this feature called spin tax, it means that you'll be less likely to be picked up by the spam filters, and your campaigns will have better performance, okay? So you definitely want to put that in. Obviously, you can't do that in LinkedIn outreach, but this would be email outreach. That's why this is highlighted in blue. Okay, so now going once again onto the fundamentals of a cold message, because I've already spoke a lot about fundamentals, but there's even more. If you understand the fundamentals, you can't really go wrong with this, because one of those 3 angles will definitely work. Once again, if you center it around their pain point and do these 3 things I'm about to mention, it will definitely work, okay? One of the most important things, I think, is to keep it short. 75 words is enough. It doesn't need to be an essay, because the thing is, we live in an attention economy where everyone's attention span is extremely small. And if someone's receiving, an essay in their LinkedIn messages, they're probably in between meetings, they're probably in between calls, everyone's busy, they're not going to have time to read it. All we need is a really good, concise, good headline message, and that will get people's attention. Sometimes even my very best campaigns have been 10 words long. Literally, hey, I notice you're hiring for a controller, been open for 6 weeks. I've got someone in my network, would it be worth a chat? Literally it can be like that. Obviously you might want to put a little bit more detail into that, but it depends on your demographic you're reaching out to, depends on your audience. That's why the split testing is important. Maybe split one longer message, one medium length message, and one very short message, and see the results from there. Because ultimately at the end of the day, data will make their decision. We don't want to make decisions out of opinions. Yes, opinions can still be valid if they're backed with previous experience and data, but everything's changing so quickly now, we need to be on top of data all the time. So that's why we want to track these campaigns separately to analyze the data, okay? Obviously, the second most important thing is to make it about them. Avoid I, avoid we, Instead, focus on their needs, their pain points, how we can solve them, what positions they've got open, which we've seen from the last module on Clay, is how we can actually find that. then we can actually lean on that and say, look, I understand you're hiring for XYZ. I see the job's been open for this amount of time, and then lean on that. So lean on pain points always. Third is something that I cannot emphasize enough. I think this is really, really important because most agencies I see actually do this. They put like a calendar link in the bottom of the first outreach message, or they say, when can we find time to jump on a call, or let me know a time that suits you. On the very first call, you haven't even had a response at this point, and it's far too aggressive. People won't want to be reached out to and say, like, literally book a call in my calendar, because they don't know who you are, they don't trust you, and probably if they've never heard of you before, they haven't had enough time to like you, right? So we need soft call to actions, or CTAs. Okay, just simply ask if they want more information, if they want to provide feedback, if they'd like to see a bit more, if we can send over a Loom video, if I can give them a call. Because if we're just constantly saying, click here to book a call with me, there isn't enough desire built up. We need at least another conversation back and forth, you know? And I think that's where most people go wrong. It isn't even the main bit of the message that's the issue. Usually it's just this very, very aggressive call to action that's trying to rush things. Sometimes you need to play a bit slower with your prospects, build up trust, build up rapport, and then you can actually ask them for the ask, which is for them to jump on a call. So I'd say the main takeaway from that is don't go to the ask too quickly. Spend time to build up relationship over LinkedIn messages, and then ask if they can book a call. So have a soft call to action, just something like, would you like to learn more? Would you be interested in more information? Do you want to see some resumes? If that's something you can provide, that would work, okay? So to motivate action, you need to understand the prospect's pain points and show how your service alleviates the pain for them, okay? And that obviously ties us into value-driven messaging, right? So if we understand the prospect's motivation, we can actually have value-driven messaging, right? So this is what people will only respond when there's clear value exchange, when you have something that they want. Okay, for most businesses, it's why like lead generation services get a lot of replies generally, because most people want leads, right? Because it's something they're in dire need of. If companies have open positions that have been open for a long time, they're probably in need of that person. If you can tailor your message around the fact that you have someone that is a great fit for this position they've been really struggling for, obviously there's more desire for the prospect to take action there. Okay, so you don't just want to be doing immediate pain, you also want to say avoid future pain. So maybe retention is a big issue for a business, like employee retention. They're having employees leave and churn all the time. If you have a solution that solves that, maybe even have a longer placement guarantee, then that can also be very useful. So it's weighing up also short and long-term pain, okay? So we've already gone into the deep dive. You want to figure out the immediate pain, the future pain, right? Like inefficiencies or skill shortages, how you can solve that, maybe how you can actually build them a recruiting funnel internally. Maybe that's what they're after, right? So an example for hiring managers could be the easiest way to address their pain is to present high quality candidates. That's just the truth, okay? Some people don't like to send MPC or most placeable candidate campaigns. Some people do, but the reality is if a hiring manager has a really good candidate that you provided in front of them, they're more likely to take action from what our data suggests, okay? And that's why the next section really is about MPC or most placeable candidate strategies, because we've seen them to work very, very well, okay? So here's exactly how I'd recommend you do it, especially if you're going to run with MPC campaigns. It works well with those 3 angles. Maybe you have 3 higher demand positions in that industry, okay? You want to find the people who, like, employees are actually struggling to find. Maybe it's some specific type of software engineer. You know they're really difficult to find, okay? Maybe it's just, I don't know, a controller or something like this. You need to do research on your market. Once again, you can ask ChatGPT about this, but you want to figure out who is actually sought after in that market right now, okay? Then what you need to do is use your candidate pool to develop these 3 rockstar candidates, okay? Ideally for these positions that are really, really sought after, and make sure these candidates are good. They've got good experience, they've got like good skills that you can showcase, and they've got really good things on their resume, that you can market out, okay? So once you have these 3 candidates, then you can obviously build targeted lists. So what I'd do from here is identify 3 candidates you think are really, really good, then go back to module 1 and build the list for each of those. So say you have a really good controller, what I'd do is go back to module 1 and build a list of companies hiring for controllers. Okay, that way you can market out that controller that you have to those companies hiring for a controller. If you want to make it really targeted, you can obviously put in the location and extra detail, okay? But that's what we would do. So build that targeted list. Obviously, research job boards, research LinkedIn. The way you can do that is all within Clay as well, as I've already shown you. And then, of course, select those good candidates, right? And here's exactly what it would look like. So here's like a framework. We're finally getting into the good stuff now, the framework of what it might actually look like, okay? So this is it from a very basic level, and then I'll give you some actual examples here. So it'll be, hey name, is pain point a priority for you right now? Is finding a rockstar controller a priority for you right now? Okay, or is finding an A-star, an A player, an A plus controller a priority for you right now? Then we go in with the value proposition. We have someone who has achieved X, Y, Z. Would this be worth sending more information? So it's short, it's sweet, it's got a soft call to action, and it's prompting them to reply because it's centered around their pain point, okay? As I've just said here. So let's say, for example, for a NPC message, it would be about the same. Let's have a look at this. So for a biotech example, it could be, hi name, is increasing your capital to cover R&D costs a priority currently? Okay, and then you can say we have placed some top tier leaders who have been able to increase funding for our clients. Would it be worth discussing how we could do the same for you? If you actually have detail on this leader who has increased funding, maybe you could put it here. Like you want to be specific ultimately. So say like the exact amount they've raised. If you can say the name of the company they've worked for, great, put that in. So just add more specificity. But this is something that would work, you know. Their pain point might be increasing capital to cover R&D costs. Cool, so we can say that. Is increasing capital to cover your costs a priority currently? Yes, it probably is. And then what's our value proposition? Our value proposition is we have placed top tier leaders who have been able to increase funding for our clients, meaning obviously they can cover their R&D costs. And then a very soft call to action. Would this be worth discussing how we could do the same for you? If you have like a similar case study that you can use, definitely put that in there, because people will be drawn to the fact that it's similar to them, okay? And that will make it much, much easier to respond. Let's say, for example, it's an NPC one. This is how you could actually do it. So once again, instead of just saying, is finding a great controller a priority for right now, you can actually change it to a business need, a business pain, if you're reaching out to the CEO or something, for example, okay? And you could say, or the CFO in this case, hey name, is maintaining an efficient cash flow a priority for you right now, okay? And that will just be like, of course, that's going to be a pain point for most businesses, especially in this market. So it's, already they're looking for, okay, what are they going to propose for me to maintain efficient cash flow, right? To continue to run the business. And then you can say, I have an A-player controller who has helped reduce trade receivables from 200 million to 100 million over 2 years. Okay, so it's like an exact thing they've achieved and how this can actually help. For this example, I've attached their resume. Obviously, you may not want to do that. You can do that if you wish. You can just delete this. You could say, would you be interested in discussing this candidate? So it's saying the exact specific thing they've been able to achieve in the value proposition, and this is the pain we can help them with. Once again, soft CTA again. Okay, it's data driven. It's got specifics in there, and I would recommend if you have specifics on your candidates that you can put in, that of course doesn't give away who they are, then I'd recommend putting that in for sure, and a soft CTA again. But ultimately, if you start with open-ended questions and you say like, would this be of interest, or how would this affect your organization, then that's going to help you obviously develop more of a relationship or conversation, I should say, with the prospects on the other side. You want to frame outreach as discovery, not sales, and that's once again tying into the call to action. If you're just saying, this is what we do, this is who I am, book a call with me, it's far too salesy. Whereas if you're saying like, is this a priority for you right now? Are you genuinely in need of this? And here's a solution. Would you be open to discussing this? It's a bit more open-ended, and it just means people will commit more, because ultimately everyone has like a friction barrier. If there's too much friction in the sales message, people will not go ahead with it. They won't jump onto a call. They won't eventually get to know you and work with your business. But if the barrier of friction or barrier to entry is low, right? Barrier to openness, I should say, then you're going to be able to get more calls booked in. But if the friction in the message is low and you're not asking them for loads of stuff, you're not asking them to commit loads of time, you're just simply asking, what they're struggling with and if they're open to discussing this, then it's going to have much more chance of actually leading into a meaningful conversation and eventually a sale. Obviously, you want to identify bottlenecks and pain points before suggesting solutions. That's why it's asking, is this pain point a priority for you right now? They'll either confirm or deny that. Obviously, we still want to do research in the pain points or to the pain points. Obviously, we still want to do research about the pain points to make sure they're relevant to the company. But we just want to basically identify those bottlenecks for the business so we can provide solutions. Okay. And then obviously we want to build a gap with the message. So look, prospect will receive a message. They'll identify there's a gap between where they are and where they want to be. Okay, maybe their cash flow is much higher than it needs to be. They start to think about the end scenario of having someone who can come in, who can reduce their cash flow significantly or increase. Say, for example, their expenditure is much higher than it needs to be. They receive this message. They see that they could have access to someone who's going to increase their cash flow substantially. Then that's obviously going to create pain. They don't currently have that. And then action is taken, right? So it's all around building a gap, showing them where they are now and where they want to be and how they can get there with you. Obviously, that's, in this case, likely going to be you placing a person for them, okay? If you're doing stuff like RPO services or multiple hires, then it could be also saving them a ton of money instead of just working with tons of recruitment, like contingent agencies. It's going to be different for each case, but you want to figure out what their pain is and really, really push on that so that action can be taken, okay? Obviously, you want to make it like relatable, use industry-specific language. So if you look at this controller example, we put, like 48 days DSO, we put trade receivables. That means if we're reaching out to CFOs, they'll understand this sort of language. That would just make the message resonate more. If we're speaking to someone in the biotech industry, then we want to use biotech-related language. Luckily, as you're probably the founder of the company watching this, you will understand the lingo in your industry. But the more you lean on that, the more your message will resonate and the more success you'll have. Obviously, we want to put curiosity as well. Sometimes you can mention competitors, like you can say you have candidates that have involved with or worked with competitors before. The more we can increase curiosity, the more likely someone will be to respond. Even if it's just a really short message and quite open-ended, curiosity is a big, big lever that you can play to actually get responses from people. If you just give them everything, you give them an essay, you give them all the information, there's no desire there to want to learn anymore. They know everything. So you deliberately want to be a little bit reserved so that the prospect will ask questions about the candidate or about your company so that you can get into further conversations. And then obviously where you can, include testimonials or case studies. For this example, like it would be good to go here in the biotech one. So we've talked about their pain, talked about value prop. Now we need to talk about how we've done this before. So some leaders include ones that we placed at XYZ company, and then this is what they achieved. The exact numbers, the exact figures, right? And then they'll realize that, okay, this is a similar company to me. Maybe they can also help me achieve this goal as well, right? So that's what you'd want to do. Obviously, timing and intent, we spoke about that. This is more on the list building side in the previous module, but you want to reach out to people when they need your services. For example, if we have those rockstar candidates, those 3 rockstar candidates, each for, that they can be the different angles, then we want to find people who are posting jobs for that candidate and make sure it's the right person. So if it's a controller, we want to find companies hiring for controllers and we want to reach out to the CFOs, most likely, okay? Also, other things we could look out for on Clay would be like funding announcements, leadership changes, event attendance. So if you have a list of attendees of events and you know that maybe each of these event attendees is probably going to that event because they want to learn more about that subject, i.e., let's say it's a client acquisition or a business development event, they're probably struggling, or not struggling, but they at least want to increase their BD, right? So then if you have a BDR or business development manager, then you can say, hey, look, I noticed you're attending this event. Is increasing your sales or your front end a priority for right now? I have someone who's been able to achieve XYZ for a similar company to yours. Would it be worth speaking about this person and how they could impact your company, right? So you've just got to find triggers that will show pain, and then we need to leverage that pain. Obviously use tools like Clay to assist. Okay, but ultimately the more relevant we can make it, the more pain that we can actually lean on, then we can develop a better value proposition, right? Which is point 3. Risk reversal also helps. So say, for example, we can have placement guarantees. The longer the placement guarantee, so say you put a guarantee of 9 months on your placements, it's going to be more attractive than someone who puts 3 months. So you can put that in there. Once again, for the email side of things, I'd avoid word like guarantees. Not all the time, but most of the time, just because your emails will not land as successfully in the inbox. But for LinkedIn, it shouldn't be too bad. And then, of course, lean on social proof. So lean on these 5 things if you can: relevancy, pain, value proposition, risk reversal, and social proof. If you have all of those things ticked off in your message, it'll be really, really well. I'll just leave you with this one last sort of LinkedIn message framework that you could use, as well as maybe another split test. So it'll be: hi, name. Are you noticing that pain is affecting your growth? Once again, let's stay consistent with this example of companies hiring for controllers. You could say, are you noticing that struggling to hire great controllers is affecting your company's growth? We help companies hire A-star controllers by using, and then you want to put a unique mechanism. So this is how you do it: by using our, say, targeted, you could say, for example, by using our targeted recruitment strategy without, and then you put the risk reversal. So in this case, it probably wouldn't be without, but you'd put the risk reversal. So we help companies hire great controllers or great financial talent by using our recruitment, by using our targeted recruitment strategy. And we offer a 9-month placement guarantee. Our last client, and then you could maybe list the name, XYZ Limited, hired a controller in just 10 days with us, who has then gone on to do, this specific thing, who has then gone on to improve cash flow by 27%. I'm confident we could do the same for you. Would you like more info? So that's effectively how it would work. You want to play around with these pains, these outcomes. The unique mechanism is effectively building curiosity. You just want to call the way you do things something different. So if it could be like an automated sourcing strategy, right? It just builds a bit of curiosity and it makes it sound unique. That's the main thing. Because if you just say, okay, this is what we do, this is how we do it, we just work standard contingent recruitment, we help hire a person and we take 15% or 20%, right? Then they're going to put you in the same bucket as every other recruiter. Whereas if you're saying that you're using this unique mechanism, you automatically stand out and it will just make your outreach message more effective. And then, of course, with the risk reversal, or you could say without having to pay anything up front. If you work contingent, if you work retained, then it could be without having to use other recruiters, right? But you just want to make it sound attractive. So whatever they don't want to do, so it could be pay up front, work with a ton of recruiters, worry about retention, right? So that could be the placement guarantee. You just want to put in a risk reversal there. And then you'd obviously put some social proof here. So our last client that we helped do this went on to do XYZ, achieve XYZ, or the candidate went on to achieve XYZ, and I'm confident we could do the same for you. Would you like more information? Okay, so that's been a lot of me speaking at you here. Definitely put some of these things into action. Try some of these frameworks. In the next video, I'm actually going to go into this a little bit more and give you some exact script templates that you can use. This is more understanding the fundamentals of copywriting and what we need to do in order to actually achieve successful results with our LinkedIn campaigns. So hopefully that's been useful. You might want to watch this video a few times over just to make sure you've absorbed everything. But those are the frameworks that will really set us up for success. So I'll see you in the next module, I'll see you in the next video, which will be more on copywriting, but I'll give you some exact frameworks and scripts that you can use.